Okay, so again, this repo that we were looking at with Git graph or source tree or whatever we're able to get working, a Doug, hopefully at a minimum, is just an example of a repo that's had some changes put into it. So, if we scroll back in the history a little bit, we can see some of these changes, by selecting those commits in our visual tool here. So you can see them adding an index.html, and then adding an FAQ, and then adding a map.html, and so on. And so what I want you to do now is to your project team to go ahead and do something similar. Is choose kind of one of these five. Each of you choose one of these pages, and go ahead and add it. Create it, of course, and then git add it, which I'm assuming you know how to use git add and git commit already. And then and this is back in your project's repo, right? This is, for me, it would be Romeo. So I would cd up out of here. I would go into Romeo, assuming my project team's repo is called that. I would make however you make it, whether in Visual Studio Code or just using cat, something like this. If I'm the guy that got tagged with making the index, I do this and put some code in here. And enter, and then Control D to finish. And then if I look at index, that's the contents. Right, and then I would just add those contents to my repo, and then git commit it. And then git push it. And of course, I got to go through all that because I used HTTPS instead of SSH. But yeah, so each of you pick a page, add it, and push it up to git commit, git add, git commit, and git push. And if you pick a different page, each of you pick a different page, then there won't be any merge conflicts. So let's all take a moment to do that.
Hey, just curious, Chris, did you say you can do cat and then the caret thing, and if you haven't made the file, it'll make it for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's a Linux or Unix thing. The right-hand angle bracket, I had to think for a moment. The right-hand angle bracket is the redirect for bash, and understands that as whatever cat is taking, which is going to be what you type in this case, put it into this file, and and creating it if it doesn't exist. And because I haven't told cat where to get it from, I don't have a left-hand angle bracket. Cat just assumes that it's going to be looking at my keyboard for input, which it does until I stop typing and hit Control D. I don't know if I called that out when I was doing it, but when I'm done typing my input, I hit Control D, which is an end of file character, is how that's interpreted. And then cat knows that I'm done, and then it goes ahead and closes out that file.
So if we didn't hit Control D, how do we delete the text from the page?
So you can just pull it into Visual Studio Code and edit it there if you're accustomed to that.
Yeah.
Just in any editor. Anybody use Vim in the room?
I know a couple people are in the process of using Vim more and more.
Yeah, not on purpose.
Not on purpose. Yeah. I've used Vim since 1985 and still use it probably 40 times a day, if not 80.
Yeah, it took me a couple years to really get comfortable using Vim to be able to use it fluently. Chris, that's very cool. I actually didn't know that you could do that with cat, to use cat that way to write to a file. And I didn't know about the into file character with Command D. So that's very cool.
Yeah, that's a great thread to pull in the whole Unix realm, is this the way that redirection and IO works between processes.
Yep.
So Dalton, you had a hand up.
Yeah, I'm in the Git basic sample project repo, and I was trying to push it up, but so when I do git remote/v, it's still pointing towards. Am I supposed to change all of these remote locations to our group folder, I'm assuming?
So this change this change is not being made in the Git basic sample project repo. So notice I CD'd up one level here, and then I CD'd into my project teams repo. So these are changes that should be being made in your project teams repo that your leader should have, had you invited you to collaborate on, and then you would have git cloned it and, begin to make changes to it, to files, and then, git add, git commit them, and then git push them up back to your project
So
team leads repo.
I guess it's not letting me, I can't add anything from the Git basics or the Git project or basic sample project because I'm not in that folder. Does that make sense?
So you want to just copy something from there into yours? Is that what you're getting at?
I thought that's what we were doing, but maybe I'm totally, I thought we were pushing.
You're using it for inspiration, but you don't, you could grab it as it is.
Oh, okay.
But I just meant do what they did, as far as creating new files, there's index. I'm sorry, I'm pointing at my screen. Index, FAQ is new, map is new with, the green plus signifies a new file, not modifying an existing one. And then help. So these first few commits that they're doing here on their repo in this sample is adding these separate distinct files. And so what I want your team to do is to do that same thing. Each of you take a file and add it to the repo, and then commit it and push it up, or try pushing it up.
Thank you.
Sure. I anticipate, I should say this, the first person will succeed and the others will not. I'm just waiting for somebody to bring that up. But maybe we're not there yet.
Maybe Alicia is bringing it up in chat.
Oh yes, Alicia.
Yeah, so when I did get status to make sure I knew what the branch was called. So I know I pushed it to the right branch, but when I said, when I tried to git push main, it said your branch is based on origin/main, but the upstream is gone.
So you said git space push space main?
Yeah.
Okay, you're missing one component.
So normally I do origin, but Adam yesterday told me I didn't need to.
Yeah, you need
Well,
to. Unless you've set,
Probably my misunderstanding. Adam's very, very.
no,
smart
I
about it.
probably, I'm used to once I push a branch for the first time, however I have stuff set up, I then don't have to specify the origin each time I push. So I probably missed
Right.
some steps.
right, so. Yeah, exactly. If you set up your, so Git will tell you, like, if I do a Git push, let's see, what have I got here in my little sample repo? I've got a commit. Okay, cool. So if I just do a Git push, and I haven't done anything else since I pulled this thing down, since I did a Git clone. That really is going to make me type this, isn't it? 1 second here. Because I don't have my password memorized.
This is recorded, so if you intend to show it, be careful.
Yeah, no worries. That's me. Okay, let's see if that works. Let me do one thing quickly here to show this example. Yeah, this is worth covering. So let me do a. So okay, to drop into something we haven't covered yet, and I haven't given you context for, I'm going to change my protocol to SSH is what I'm after here.
This is awesome though, so this will be great. Even if
Yeah,
we're
if it's
diving
awesome,
in.
great. If it's not, just put your hand over your ears until I'm done, and we'll continue on. But so what I need to know is what remote I have and what protocol it is. So I can do a git remote -v, and this tells me, oh, I have a remote called origin, and it's pointing to this repo. Oh, but it's HTTPS. This is not what I want because I don't remember my password. But hey, I do have my SSH key set up, so let's use SSH protocol. So first I have to, though, remove that existing definition with git remote rm for remove. And then I just give the name. And so now if I look at the remotes I have, there are none. I'm not connected to any remote repo at all now.
And we
So
do not want people to run that git remote rm origin command, correct? This is a watch, not do.
don't do
operation.
this right now unless you know what you're doing.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to do is add it back, but I'm going to add it with a different protocol. You notice, or remember maybe when we looked at git clone up here for a repo, we could choose a couple different options. We could have chosen this, and this is SSH protocol. So we really want something like, like this, not this, not this. So I'm going to just copy this. And the next argument to add to this remote add is the name. So I'm still going to call it origin. That's fine. And now I'm going to use this protocol, which has the same information, but it uses a different communication protocol instead of HTTPS. Now, if I do a git remote -v up arrow a couple times. So it's still walquist/romeo.git, just as it is before, but now it's going to go through SSH protocol instead of HTTPS protocol, which means it's going to leverage my SSH keys in my .ssh directory in my home place for authenticating. So let's try git push again. I hopefully get a different problem. Yes, that's okay. Let's take your hands off your ears. This is what I was expecting. We go back to our regular scheduled program. This is what happens if you have done a git clone and you do a git push and you haven't set up what Adam was talking about. And then git just tells you what to do. So literally, if you want to do that, just copy paste that. And now it's doing the thing that basically says default me to origin main. All right, and now I can try my git push again. And then I don't have anything to push here, but if I did, it would try to go on up to the remote called origin on the branch called main. So, where are we?
That is a really good walkthrough.
Alicia, you still have a question?
I guess so. So we accidentally pushed to two different branches, so I was trying to check out the other branch to merge it to our main branch. But it says that it did not match any files known to Git.
Okay, I would have, yeah, I have to see a little bit of your command line history to know what
Okay, well,
where
I
to
think
engage there.
most of us are able to push to one specific branch, so I think we're fine, and we'll just ignore the other one for now.
Yeah, right now we're just sticking with one branch. I'm not saying this is the the greatest or even the best or recommended workflow, but just for simplicity, we'll bring in branching and merging later. Angel, you had a question.
Yes, sir. I was wondering because I got that error you were referencing earlier where I tried to push, but my other members already pushed before me. So I'm
Yes.
getting saying that updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally.
Right.
So it's prompting me to pull.
That's the question I was waiting for. So what happened there? Anybody have an opinion or a idea what that means? The remote has work that you do not have. So what took place to create that situation?
It means that the owner of the repo updated it with a new commit and push. And I don't have that, and I'm trying to push to an older commit.
Right. Yeah, so the owner or anybody, like whoever was first, right? So you have GitHub here, you pull it down, it has the same state commit wise. We're only talking about commits at this point because the remote only deals with commits. There's no, no notion of pending changes that are not committed as far as the remote is concerned. So then you make your changes, you go a commit forward, but now someone else has already made changes and they're faster than you, and they've moved the remote forward because they've pushed, and it's forward in a different direction. So now you're still pointing back at the previous history, previous version. And so when you try to push there, well, now the head is somewhere else, and the remote doesn't know what to do to reconcile that change. And so because it doesn't like that, that's not what it does, right? It doesn't merge. There are no remote merges except for one kind, which I'll go into. So because there's a divergence now, or there would be if it could get up there, that it would be in a strange state that it does not, it just doesn't do that. So it says, nope, you've got to get this over here to your place and figure it out, and then go with the combined notion. So you'll basically bring over, and now you've got those two changes side by side. You've got to merge them and make them into one, and then you're going to try to push again, and that at that time it can see based on the history that you've already reconciled that those divergences with a merge. Your tree comes back together. That's what a merge is. And then it says, okay, yeah, you're good to go. Everything that you've done is something that I don't have to do. And so then it ends up being a merge, but it's a fast forward, which means there's no branches anywhere that it has to manage. So that's, I know, a very confusing explanation, but we'll see it in action and it will make more sense. But yes, the short answer to that long-winded explanation is you have to pull first, get that changeover. Now, what happens when you do a pull? Two things. Anybody know what those two operations are that correspond to a pull?
Fetch and merge.
Yes. And what does that mean? What is a fetch and a merge?
So fetch pulls down the files that are changed, and then merge kind of like combines what the repo has to what you have.
Yes, exactly. So fetch. So when you do pull, a fetch happens first to basically say, okay, give me everything you've got as far as commits over there and bring it over here. But nothing actually changes in your tree yet. And so, or at least on your branch. And so then the merge is the second part, which then tries to basically, well, it merges those changes, so that if you're on branch main, then now branch main has what remote branch main has. So main is in two places. I mean, you could think of it as that way. There's what the remote thinks is main and what you think is main, and those things have to be merged together. So if we go back to any old graph, you'll see main, which is that's main on your local repo, and then origin/main, that's the main on the remote that's called origin. And because these are on the same line, then all is good. They all think that this commit is where they should be. So that's cool. So falling behind on messages here.
Yeah, with regards to messages, there were a couple messages, I think, about branch name confusion. The source might be, I'm not sure if this is correct. I think by default now, when you clone or create a repo with GitHub, the main or master branch, the name of that primary branch is main. So
Yes.
folks, try using the main branch as the main branch for everything. If you already have it working with branch name master, don't worry about this, ignore this. But if you're running into those issues, try using the branch name main.
Yes. If you do a clean, repo create and repo clone, it's going to default to main. I haven't explicitly named any branches, in this little example that I've done so far, and it has given me the branch name of main as the conventional default branch. So yeah, and including what it tells you to copy paste, it says main as well. So unless you explicitly use something else, it's going to go with main for new repos. So let me catch up on some. So okay, so yeah, so if you've got 4 people in your team and 4 changes, then you're going to have to pull a few times, depending on when team member A, B, C, or D got their changes into the remote repo. But if they're different files, then they're not going to be conflicting changes, which means you should not get a merge collision. It's something that Git would know how to handle, or at least thinks it knows how to handle. So it should go ahead and do the merge without giving you any static about it, at least as far as we've gotten, right now. Jacob, a question. I can't hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you already type in your terminal the command to like pull it back down, so we have like every commit on our local machine so that we're able to push?
So my repo, this Romeo repo, I'm the only one on this one, so I don't really have anything to pull because I know that nobody else is touching this repo remotely.
Okay, gotcha. Well, what was the command exactly?
To pull?
Yep.
Just so git pull, you could say, if you haven't done this thing here, it might ask you to do this as well. But if you have this, if you've done this, if your upstream has been set to origin main, then you can just say git pull. If it hasn't, you'd have to like type in the whole thing. You know, I don't have anything to update, so nothing happens when I do it, but your mileage would require that to be done. It's some, you know, if you're not the first person to push up to
Okay.
the remote. So, okay. So what you've gone through, another question, Angel.
All right, Chris, I'm now getting a error saying fatal refusing to merge unrelated histories. Whenever I try to pull.
I am not sure I've heard of that error before. It sounds like you might be like merging different repos somehow. Fail to merge unrelated histories. So that would mean there's no common ancestor between what you're pushing and what is where you're pushing to. This would be a wild guess. So I think you'd want to make sure that you are, you know, that your branches, you're on main, and that your origin main is somewhere in the past. Or actually, let me think about that. If someone else is pushed, then if you do a get fetch, your origin main will be somewhere in the future. So let me see if I can demonstrate this on this sample project repo here. So
Yeah, I'm getting the same message.
if I were to, I'll put out there what your graph should look like, and then you can compare what it does look like and see how close that is. Maybe that would shed some light. So I'm going into the sample project repo here, and I'm going to do some things that we're going to talk about later. So I'm basically going to move my main back and pretend like I haven't pulled yet. So I'm going to move it back to this update header commit using git reset. And I don't have any changes. If I do a git status, there's no changes. We haven't covered that, but it shows we're clean, working tree clean. So now I can do a git reset. I'm going to use -- hard, and I'm going to choose 8B7F5. 8B7F5. And now if I look, so that basically has yanked my main branch down to 2 commits before where origin is. So it's as if somebody else has pushed up here, and I haven't done a pull yet. Does that make sense? Because I'm
Yes.
behind. Right now, as it shows now, I'm behind origin main. So that's what you should see, is something like that. You know, if 2 other people have pushed, and you know your main is moved up remotely here, then you would be back here, and you would need to do a pull and then a merge of your stuff.
What
Okay,
was the code you put in for that get reset?
So this, I used to get reset hard to move it back to the commit that I wanted it to reset to. Which I'll cover in detail later. That's an important concept, but I'm jumping ahead to try to kind of show what this should be. So there should be a line, you know, from your main up to the origin main. If there's not, then you might be on an unrelated history. So
yes. What happened was I initialized, we added a FAQ page and then the index or a about page. And then they were all different branches, so they were merged. And then it shows on my graph that I'm behind. Like
well,
when I pushed, it shows that I pushed something, but it doesn't reflect on my GitHub.
when you say you initialize, what do you mean? What specifically did you do to
When I
initialize?
first initialized the repo.
So say again.
When I first initialized the repo.
Yeah, what command did you run to initialize?
I created the repo on GitHub, and then I coded it to my VS Code.
And you're the project leader?
Yes.
Okay. And then you gave everybody collaborates to that
These are
repo?
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, so if you did create and a git clone and you're in the same repo, you might just try recloning
All right,
and make, just going through the steps again.
sounds good.
Chris, just to check in on where you would like the class to be, and if there are things we need to do to get all the teams in a good state before moving forward, would it be useful to take 5 to 10 to have each team go to a breakout room, and then we can move amongst them to confirm that everything looks good and then rejoin? Or would you like to continue as is?
Yeah, let's make sure. That's a great point, and I think a great solution to it. What I want people to be at is that where they can, first of all, that the project leader's repo is cloned down to each team member's local machine. B, that they can commit, they can do a pull and a push successfully of files that do not have conflicting merges. And in particular, in this exercise we were just at, if they each have if they're each pushing a different file, like if there's nobody is pushing about.html or attempting to, then you should be able to get to where you can eventually see everybody's changes up on GitHub. By virtue of just doing a git pull and then a git push, because the git pull will do a merge of whatever other changes have made it up there that will not conflict,
Right.
and then accept. Just make sure you do a git push immediately after git pull, so nobody else gets in ahead of you, or you would have to do it again.
Yeah.
So
And
if
just-
everybody's in that state, then we're good to go to the next step.
Okay. And just to reiterate, for when I'm jumping around breakout rooms to make sure that everyone's in a good state, we want team leads to have created the repo, to have cloned it, all the team members who have access to that repo and cloned it. And we want all team members on the main branch to be able to pull and push on that one branch.
Yes,
for be able to add changes. Okay.
exactly
Awesome.
right. Exactly
Thank
right.
you.